Thanks a lot for taking the time. I'm sure it's been a whirlwind few days for you. I was hoping you could just start by talking about why you decided to jump into this race right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be very honest that on Thursday, driving back from Kansas City from our baseball game, I was not planning on doing it on yesterday, announcing yesterday. But I think, one thing I learned last summer with the experience of the baseball and how all the hoopla that came around that was opportunity doesn't come at convenient times. And when Senator Ernst had her town hall and it went viral on the "We're All Gonna Die." Well, I was on my way to Gary Lipshutz, who I believe you know, but
Hmm.
others may not. He's been a Sioux City activist for a long, long time, a family friend, and his funeral was very beautiful. But that really resonated with all the work that he's done, and just sitting there and you're pondering life and all this. And Senator Harkin was actually at the funeral, and that's just everything kind of. I found clarity, and I was like, I got to do this. And then on Saturday, when she doubled down and gave that sarcastic, I guess, quote unquote apology, I was just like, okay, game on. That's not who we are. And like that, I mean, that was just cruel and very disrespectful. And so that's kind of how we got the ball rolling. And we're like, can we pull this off? And here we are.
I wanted to say for people, Gary Lipshutz, he was a friend of mine. I only met him in person once, but I knew him online for years and really just such a dedicated activist. And he was a fan of yours, JD. I remember that. So I was wondering if you would give us some perspective on your work in the legislature and as you thought about staying in the legislature versus taking, it's a long shot to run against an incumbent for a statewide
Yeah.
office. So I was just wondering if you could talk about that.
Yeah, it's such an honor to represent Sioux City down at the state legislature, but a lot of the issues that I'm extremely passionate about, I consider myself an anti-monopolist, and that a lot of that takes place at the federal level. And we can really do a lot of I feel good at that level. I'm running on the same things I ran when I ran for Congress against Steve King in 2018 and 2020 is fight for universal health care, fix the economy so it works for everyone, not just the top and multinational corporations, and then secure our democracy from the billionaires and special interests that are dictating it. And so when you look at those things, a lot of that, I mean, that's all federal. And so that's part of the reasoning of why I make this jump. I'm very aware of the uphill battle, but I mean, this is I would say, a shorter hill than running in a Trump plus 27 district when you have never ran office before in 2018. And, we moved the needle 24 points then. And just my federal experience outperforming the top of the ticket in every single race I've been. I'm currently representing a Trump district. All those things added up to, if we're going to pull this off in 2026, this is the type of candidate and I think my experience and my campaigns are different. They're not the most conventional consultant-driven kind of campaigns, and so we're hoping to really create a grassroots movement again and do something special.
Can you describe on universal health care, what would be your preferred approach to getting to that goal? Because I think that's a goal probably every Democrat shares, but some
Yeah.
disagreement about how to get there.
Well, and that was interesting in the 2020 caucus, hearing all the different versions. And honestly, like, if it's uh, Medicare for all who want it, like the Pete version, or Medicare for all, the Bernie version, and anywhere in between. I mean, it is, I'm open. It just, we're the wealthiest nation in the world, and the fact that we don't have that is absolutely insane. And so, like, it's been very interesting to me playing baseball again because like my teammates in the off season, they don't have health insurance. They have to pick up a form of it because the team covers them during the season, but then in the off season, and it's one of those things that, and then they're protected till they're 25. But then some of my older teammates are like, well, I don't know if I can play next year because I'm having to choose between rent and healthcare. And that's back in the day when I was playing baseball. That was a decision I had to make, and my mom doesn't want to hear the answers of what I chose.
Yeah, and my memory is that you did not endorse a presidential candidate before the 2020 caucuses. Is that
That's
correct?
correct.
I remember
Yeah.
you're one of your inspirations, Berkeley Bedell, endorsed Elizabeth Warren, but that was my
Yes.
memory that you did not. I,
And in our announcement video, we had a picture of Burke, and that was at a Elizabeth Warren event with him. And
Mhm.
so, that's one of the blessings of the past few years of getting running for office and everything is becoming friends with him and Senator Harkin, and just like it's one of those things when you're a kid, like it just that those people seem so like heroic to me, and then to actually have them call you and know your name and everything, it was just that's been special.
One of the big fault lines that has divided Democrats this year is in how the Democrats in Congress approach that funding bill in mid-March, the bill to keep the government funded through the
Yeah.
end of September. And almost all the House Democrats voted against that bill, and most of the Senate Democrats did, but then enough of them broke away to keep the government funded, to keep a shutdown from happening. And that caused a lot of debate online, which I'm sure you saw. And I was just wondering,
Yeah.
where do you come down on that? Do you agree more that with the House Democrats, like they should have voted against that bill, even if it led to a federal government shutdown? Or do you think that, as Chuck Schumer said, the shutdown would have been the worst of two really terrible options?
Right. And I'll be very honest, I wasn't in on the meetings. I was focused on the state legislature at the time. But like just as an outsider, I felt I was disappointed with, I mean, because Schumer said he wasn't for it, and then he ended up voting for it and allowing it to pass. And so it's like, what did we get in return? And I think that's the thing that people, especially at that moment, we're seeing all this stuff happening from Trump, and it really didn't meet the moment. And I think so much in politics right now. I mean, heck, that's the reason why I got in this race is trying to meet the moment. And I think Democrats are really struggling right now. We've had a lot of wonderful Democrats who have served a long, long time that have done great things, but we're seeing a lot of retirements now. And
Mhm.
I'm excited for the next generation. And so that's one of the things that if I get elected and all that, like that's the type of stuff that I would love to see because you saw like just like with AOC not being the chair of that committee and just like we need vocal leaders, and politics is more than just being doing your committee work and all that stuff. It's also messaging, and
Mhm.
so when we can have that those people who inspire other people to get active, to vote, and all that stuff, that's what we really need to tap into.
Mhm. And I know you've done a lot of podcasts and interviews. Are you willing to go on conservative shows,
Oh,
conservative podcasts, or is that something you've done in the
absolutely.
past?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Because like, and here's the thing, like one of the things I realized in a lot of this is so much of it is you got to call out the game. There's going to be oh, I got you and all this stuff, and but I my local station KSCJ, I go on quite a bit, and they'll ask me about like the hot topic of the day, like trans issues and
Mhm.
different things like that. And I'm like, yeah, I'm more than happy to answer this, but at the end of the day, like, why are we not talking about the multinational corporations that are jacking up our grocery prices? You know, we say we have all these options for peanut butter, but there's actually only two companies in the grocery store.
Mhm.
We have these egg prices, and what are we doing about those? Like, those are the things that really impact people, and they want to focus on the punch down politics. And I think that I know Iowans are sick of that.
And I have this low-key obsession with what I call the mid-sized cities, or some people call them the
Yes.
micropolitan areas. So that would be a couple of them you're very familiar with, having campaigned in Fort Dodge and Mason City.
Yep.
But those areas like Ottumwa, Clinton, Burlington, what's your theory on why things have gotten so bad for Democrats in those areas, and how can Democrats turn that around?
Yeah, those mid-sized towns that we like to call them, manufacturing towns, like NAFTA hurt a lot of them. We shipped a lot of jobs overseas, and a lot of those jobs were union jobs, and that's really hurt this state in a lot of different ways, and it's hurt Democrats. I think one of the things that we need to do, and one of the things I'm excited about my campaign, is to have a plan for those. I think a lot of it deals with antitrust, because like a lot of these where there used to be two companies, now there's only one. Like here in Sioux
Mhm.
City, the hospitals just merged. And
Oh,
so, I mean,
hmm.
that's going to be job loss. That was just this
Hmm.
past week.
I didn't know that.
And yeah, so, so in all these industries, I mean, you look at just like my grandpa sold seed and feed up in Northwest Iowa, and my uncle was about to take it over, but then he saw the writing on the wall because the Sioux City folks were driving up there and undercutting them and then eventually when they're the only person in town, then they can jack up the prices. So they subsidize their losses for a few years and then they jack up the price. That's what monopolies do. And so
Mhm.
that's a huge part, I think, in my vision for the Iowa economy is making sure we have more competition.
And those Main Street, I mean, in the Main Street in a lot of these county seat towns just isn't very vibrant looking. So what can the federal government do about
Yeah.
that?
Well, here's one area that I think that we need to do is getting farmers to have more independence. Right now, they are handcuffed between low income, or I'm sorry, input size on the input side and on the market side. They're being squeezed. And so when the farmer doesn't have the money that they used to, like of the product of the corn, like they have just pennies of what they used to have, they don't go into town as much. They don't buy as much. And so that's what we're seeing is this dwindling. And then you see there's less farms and all of that adds up to what we're seeing right now. And so one of the huge important things is making sure that farmers have more competition. I would love to see a farm bill, just period, a decent one rather than just kicking the can down the road. But we need to have competition in the farm bill. Even Senator Grassley talks about how 90% of the farm bill goes to the top 10 percent of producers. We that needs to be flipped. Once you reach a certain status, you shouldn't be rewarded on getting bigger. We need to help the little guys and the little folks to help build, and that's the thing that I wanted to decentralize. Especially, you saw this in our food supply chain during the pandemic. You had the farmers who are getting squeezed by the monopolies. You had the workers working in tough situations, being suppressed with their wages, and then you have consumers paying the most they ever have. And all these meatpacking companies, they all had record or near record profits. And
Hmm.
so for me, like creating more competition, giving more to the workers, giving more to the farmers, and allowing more options to the consumer, I think that's how we do it.
What is your case? I'm asking all the Democrats the same question.
Yeah.
If I'm a Democratic voter and I like you, I like all the candidates in the primary, we may have more coming. What's your case for why somebody should vote for you and not for one of these other Democrats who they also like?
Yeah, in looking at the field, the potential field, because we don't know who all or who won't be in, I'm
Mhm.
the only person who's ran for federal office. I'm here in Northwest Iowa. I'm the only Democrat in 42 counties in Northwest and North Central Iowa, so I consider myself a blueberry in a bowl of tomato soup.
Mhm.
So I've overperformed in every single race I've been in, my two federal races and my two state house races. And a huge part of that is welcoming people into my coalition who are not necessarily strong Democratic voters. And so if we're going to pull this off, I think those are all the makeup of something of the person we need in order to do this. Because a wave election just is not going to do enough to win this race. We have to have something bigger, something more of a movement. And it even goes into my baseball because, like, how Democrats, it was wildly reported or that Democrats in this past election, in the past few elections, are struggling with younger men.
Mhm.
I talk to younger men every day with my teammates,
Mhm.
and it's interesting to know what interests them and also what interests me, and how do I get them to be interested in what I'm trying to say.
And as for the baseball, so you're after the season ends, you're planning to be on the road full time, or are you going to be
Oh,
still
yeah.
dividing your time? Okay. And
No,
what I
no.
mean, what if somebody says, "Hey, well, if this is so important, why aren't you just doing it full time right now?"
Yeah, well, I mean, it is full time. My whole life is like if it I will be doing social media that shows day in the life and see what we're actually doing. Also, these campaigns are so long. We have a year until the primary. And
Mhm.
so what the biggest thing that federal candidates and all different candidates across the nation are trying to do is to grab attention. And so the baseball aspect of it, it's different for sure, but it draws attention to what we're trying to do. And for the next few months, I'm going to be raising money so I can get Sioux City Sioux 2.0. And just for folks who don't know who that is, that's our Winnebago RV, proudly made in Forest City. And we're going to go nonstop, and we'll be just like the campaigns I did in 2018 and 2020, where we get out to there to the people. We'll be coming to a community near you. And I promise, folks, this is not going to be your conventional campaign. We're going to do things a little bit differently. For folks who went to our We the People rallies all across the state a couple months ago, where I brought in musicians, a comedian, even a poet, we're going to have different things, and we're going to make this a little bit fun because just boring speeches where you're being talked to. I'm not a huge fan of that. I want people active. I want to motivate folks. I want to get you to want to come to my events. And so we're going to have a lot of different things. So just stay tuned.
Is there anything I didn't ask that you think would be important for my readers to know, either about you or about
Uh,
the campaign?
they can follow me at scholtenforiowa.com.
Thanks so much for taking the time.
Always a pleasure. Thank you.